Is Matt Corral making a mistake by not throwing at the combine? And who's the quarterbacks that can actually take advantage of that? What's going on with Derek Stingley? Is he ready to run or not? And Evan Neal, what does this do to his draft stock at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis this week? We're going to look at it all. Welcome to Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back Eric Crocker. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my co-host from Rogue Analytics, Ryan Tracy. You guys can follow us on Twitter. Follow me at Eric_Crocker. Also, follow Ryan at Ryan Tracy NFL. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Ryan, it's Combine Week. And, there were some things that I wanted answered. A few guys I was really looking forward to seeing how they work out. Starting with Matt Corral. And, just what does he look like next to all the other guys, all the other quarterbacks, the ball coming out of his hands. And it looks like we're not going to be able to see that because Matt Corral, from all reports that we've seen so far, he's not going to be working out on the field. Now, like the other guys, and we'll talk about them later, I do believe he is doing the interview process and everything, but
Right.
No workout. We don't get to see the guy throw. Do you think this is because of the injury and he just needed extra time, or is he using that as an excuse? What do you think about that?
That's the thing that I can't get my head around, because they come out and they say 1 minute, hey, he's not ready to throw, we're not going to be on the field at the combine. And then they turn around and say, oh, but by the way, we're ahead of schedule in his recovery. He should be all set by the time it's ready for OT. Well, make up your mind. Which is it?
All right.
Because I would rather see him not be able to do like the active drills and just be able to take a couple step drops and throw the ball. I'd rather see that for him, because I think he may be giving up some ground here. There are folks that already think that he's not in the top 3 in this quarterback class. I think he has a chance to prove that. Now, he's got the option of the pro day. Everybody loves to rely on the pro day, right? But they always say that should be your backup in case you have a bad day out or in case you have some kind of problem. Well, now he's only got his backup. And to show the on-field stuff, I think it's important. He's going to have his receivers, obviously, at his pro day. So maybe he feels that he's just comfortable enough. But I think that the other quarterbacks are going to have a chance to gain some ground, if not pass him.
Right. And I think if you're kind of out of the loop, we're talking about Matt Corral out of Ole Miss, and he I believe it was a high ankle sprain he suffered in the bowl game. So, we're talking about late December, early January in that time. And as someone myself who has suffered a high ankle sprain, if you're on YouTube right now, you can see my jersey in the background playing for the San Jose SaberCats for the Arena Football League. I had a high ankle sprain, and it was tough. Now, obviously, playing defensive back, it's a little different for someone like me, all the different movements and things I'm asked to do, but it's something that definitely can linger. And I know most people say that the injury is a 4 to 6 week time recovery. And even then, depending on the ligament damage, it can kind of carry on a little bit longer than that. So if he's on that same time frame, maybe there wasn't enough time for him to really prepare to really throw the rock. And he wants to take a few more weeks to get closer to 100% so he can go out there and be the best version of himself he can be. But, we talked about him not being able to be out there on the field and throw with all the other guys. So I'm pretty sure his interview process, that's going to be very, very, very important for him with all the teams there that are interested in getting a quarterback. There are other quarterbacks there. And we have, some of the top guys, Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, even Carson Strong. Throw him in there. I know you've been talking a lot about Zappy and those guys. Just curious to see how they look throwing the ball. But if Matt Corral, I thought this was his big opportunity, because all these other quarterbacks I just mentioned, they were all at the Senior Bowl. So guys got a chance to see them kind of live. But now we thought, hey, Matt Corral, this is his chance to really kind of get out there and take advantage of not going to the Senior Bowl and playing in those conditions and that type of weather. Not going to be able to take advantage of it now since he won't be performing. But do you think one of these guys have more of a kind of a bounce back performance? Do you expect one guy to look better throwing in really perfect conditions in a t-shirt and shorts?
I think if Pickett throws, and I haven't seen confirmation on him specifically, obviously it helps him. The hand size is going to be a big deal. We'll hear about that probably all week long once we get a measurement on him. But for those guys that I don't know that they need to bounce back, but those guys that struggled in Mobile because of the weather, obviously it does not include Willis. He's fine. But
Right.
you get a little bit of
And
a
I didn't
chance to
mention
show
Willis.
that.
My bad. I didn't mention Willis, but also quarterback Malik Willis. Some people I have as QB1 out of Liberty.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I saw today confirmed was Ritter, Strong, and Willis are going to throw. And so I think that allows, again, this is what the combine is about. First, you check off the medicals, then you give everybody an even chance to do the same thing under the same lights on the same field, the same guys catching the ball. And maybe that gives you an inkling. Or I honestly think at the end of this, it just packs everybody in tighter to be in the same kind of grade. And I don't think there's differentiation. But for Corral, maybe that's what you're trying to avoid, because now you're the guy that's last up on the plate. I think he's got one of the later pro days. And if it's the only chance you're going to see him outside of the film, maybe he's taking that, and his representation is taking that as get all the way healthy, put your best product on the film on your pro day with your receivers on your field, and be the last thing that they see. Yeah. Maybe that does it for him.
Well, you're gonna hope so, because if Malik Willis comes out there and throws how I think a lot of people are expecting to throw, and see that type of really dynamic ability on the move, the way the ball comes out of his hands, I think there's an opportunity for some teams to really kind of fall in love with him at the combine. Again, you're seeing him in the more controlled environment, just in the sense of, the weather and things like that, shorts and t-shirts. So, him getting a chance to see him move a little bit and make some of those throws, I think this is where Malik Willis is probably going to excel the most. Just watching how the ball comes out of his hands, how effortlessly he moves in space, and some of the plays he's able to make on the move. I think this is a guy, we talked about kind of separating yourself from the pack. I think Malik Willis, just by how it might look coming out of his hands, could potentially separate himself. And, I've talked to some guys that were at the Senior Bowl. Some of them just say, man, he has the best velocity. He has the best arm strength. Yep. And if people see that live in Indianapolis, I think that can definitely help his draft stock, and maybe potentially solidify him as a first-round pick, and maybe push him up some of these teams' draft boards.
Well, and I want to see him a little bit more competition too. When you actually got to the Senior Bowl game, not something that everybody puts a lot of stock in. You're there for the practices, but you didn't get to see him really show off his arm, because he ended up taking off and run the ball a lot. So this is a more controlled environment where he's got specific throws to make that, again, is a comparison to every other quarterback there. And I think you're probably right. He's probably going to excel and then open that distance up a little bit.
All right, that's something we're going to be looking for. And there are a couple other guys we'll be looking for. We're talking Derek Stingley next. He's not working out. I have some concerns. And someone I spoke to has a few concerns with Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU as well. But first, we want to talk to you a little bit about BetOnline. And football season might be over. Obviously, the combine is in full swing. But basketball is also going full steam ahead, not just NBA, but college basketball as well. Did you see Arkansas Razorbacks beat up on the Kentucky Wildcats? Big time game. They beat them by like 2 points. But you can bet on games like that, and from all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, and where to find the next fire coach. Where is he going to land? BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all of your sports betting needs. All right, BetOnline remains the best spot for all of the sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball that we talked about, NBA, college, but come on, man. This is your #1 sports source for hockey, boxing, UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. So right now, what y'all gonna have to do, man, head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Ryan, we're talking about Derek Stingley Jr. now, cornerback out of LSU. And I think times like this, you start to kind of, maybe overthink prospects or poke at them a little too much, instead of just being like, what, this guy's a terrific prospect. Don't overthink it, right? And when you look at Derek Stingley Jr., a couple years ago, 2019, he had an exceptional season. Terrific freshman year. He was pretty much shut down. I feel like you could have made an argument for him to be the Thorpe Award winner. I think was it Grant Delpit that year? It might have been Delpit that year that won the Thorpe Award. But I think, hey, maybe Stingley could have been that guy. And he was a freshman. He was out there terrific all year, outside of the one game against Devontae Smith. Kind of ate him up. All right. Well, terrific year. He follows that up with an an average, solid season. Now, again, it's hard to say what's average because the expectations are so high for Derek Stingley Jr. But I think most people after his freshman year just said, you know what, when he enters the draft, that's CB1. And everything you've seen so far, for the most part this year, now Sauce Gardner, he's starting to pick up steam, but everything has been Stingley, CB1. They've been having them mocked really high. We've plugged them in mocks high. We're talking about top 5, top 10. And now he's at the combine. This was something that I was really looking forward to seeing. How does he look? How does he work out? He didn't play most of this season. He's had different things going on, injuries and whatnot. And it's like, all right, well, the combine is going to go. He's going to run fast. He's going to show out. And he's kind of opted out of the whole thing. Now, I probably should have dug a little bit deeper into this before really kind of speaking on his situation. But a guy that didn't play most of the season, I know he spent the rest of the season getting healthier, preparing for this moment. And he just says, you know what? Nah, I'm going to wait to do all my field work on my pro day. So it's another guy. We talked about Matt Corral. Do you think that there's any chance this could potentially hurt Stingley and maybe give another cornerback a little bit more not benefit of doubt, but a little bit more of a boost to maybe push him past Derek Stingley? Do you see anything like that happening?
I do think that could have a negative effect because at the end of the day, you've had all this time and you're going to get medical checked. If you check out and you're healthy and you've chosen not to run, a number of teams are going to look at that with Gardner out there, with Booth out there, that shying away from competition becomes a question. Because why wouldn't you want to run there? Why are you going to wait for just the pro day? Like those become questions. I would say that as his career went on, the injuries are a big concern because it always seemed to be something kind of nagging him. I thought when I looked at him, what was it, 2020? I haven't looked at his 2021 because what was there, 2 games? I thought a little bit of the suddenness had faded. And so if that is a result of the injuries, you want to correct that now. You want to get that out now. I don't see what the advantage is in waiting for him unless he's had some kind of training issue or lapse where maybe he re-injured something or he's not 100%.
I do think that there are benefits to waiting, but it's just unfortunate for guys like us that have been looking forward to seeing him, right? I mean, in an ideal world, you would like to, hey, go wait till your pro day, run in front of your guys and get timed by whoever's timing it there, but a more controlled environment, you get the proper sleep. We talked about it, just the rigorous schedule that these players are going to be on throughout this week. They're not going to get much sleep. They're going to be, talking to any and everybody from scouts to front office guys, the teams that send everybody there. I know the 49ers aren't going to have any of their coaches there, but John Lynch and their evaluation, their scouting department, they'll be there. Whoever it is going to be interviewing him. I mean, this is going to be an all-day thing. The medical checkups, like you talked about, how is his whatever injury he's going through? How is that whole thing going? How is that process? And I would, if I'm him or anyone else, any of these other guys, I would rather wait till my pro day to get the proper rest and not be up all night and interviewing with all these people and get to be in more of a controlled environment that I'm comfortable with. So from that standpoint, I get it. But I do think, like you said, from a competitive aspect of it, you want to get out there with everyone else and show like, no, I'm the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the best corner here. I'm the big dog. They have the kind of the urban legends of Deion Sanders running his 40-yard dash and then just continuing to run and hops in the car. He leaves the field. And, just kind of establish that I'm the guy here, run well, run a good 40 time. But I guess, if he doesn't feel like he's prepared to do that, whatever.
And again, it's that opportunity to do it right next to everybody else that they're saying, oh, maybe he's CB1. Maybe we've given him this too long. And that contrast right there, I think allows you to stake your claim that, yeah, it's still me. Don't forget about me.
Yeah, because Sauce Gardner is creeping up boards. And if some of these other guys, like an Andrew Booth, who, he's one of these guys that people would think are, he's an athletic freak. He's starting to creep up boards. And some of these other guys, I mean, there are some really good corners in this class. And, I talked about how I spoke with someone. And he asked me, hey, what do you think about Stingley? And I told him, and this is someone who I value his opinion when it comes to corners. And he said he didn't think that he was very good in 2020. He said he watched 4 or 5 games and was not impressed at all. And I know my thing, just watching some 2020 2021 film on him, it did not jump out to me that, oh, this is the best corner hands down. This is CB1 no matter what. This is someone that these other guys, they can't compete with him. He's just far and away the best corner in his class. I didn't get that thought at all in my mind. As a matter of fact, it only made guys like Sauce Gardner even more intriguing. So we're hoping to get some more answers on that and just how he looked in comparison to everybody else. Because at the combine, you see one guy go, then you see the next guy go. You just get to see how they move and how they test and things like that. And we're not going to get to see that. So hopefully everything works out for them. With all these kids, you hope the best, and you hope that they're getting the proper guidance throughout this process. And it's a tough one, the biggest interview process of your life. We'll see how he does with everything else. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about rockauto.com. And with the ever increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock every part that you need. And why endure often pointless and seamless, intimidating questioning about your vehicle and wait for someone that's on the other side of a counter looking into a computer? And all they're going to do is search whatever they have in their warehouse. And that's all you have. That's all you get to choose from. No, don't do that. What you want to do is go to rockauto.com, all right, where they have plenty of different things for you to get and different warehouses to pull from. And you don't have to stand at the auto parts store in front of a guy in front of his computer. You can look right in your phone. All right. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, or even sometimes 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? All right. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. And Rock Auto's prices are reliably low for every customer. And they always have some really cool things, whatever it is that you need. The one thing I'm pretty sure that everyone that has kids would like is they have new carpet. So if you have kids and they have food and they're throwing stuff around and they're standing on carpets, man, rockauto.com, they have new carpet for you as well. So go explore their easy to use website today and find a solution for your auto part needs. All right, go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. And when they ask, how'd you hear about them? Write in Locked On. That's who sent you. All right, amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com. All right, Ryan, there's one more guy that we wanted to talk about today that we kind of found out he will not be participating. And this one is a little bit more alarming than the other guys. I was looking forward to seeing Stingley. I was looking forward to seeing Matt Corral. But okay, they're coming off of injuries. You can justify it.
Sure.
Evan Neal is not coming off of an injury.
No.
Evan Neal was playing late in the playoffs, as were a lot of other guys. And he just said, you know what? Nah, I'm going to take an extra few weeks to prepare. Now, again, this is someone that we've been mocking number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I don't know if a combine is going to change anything like that. But I would be curious to know and be in kind of those meeting rooms and those interview rooms where they start to ask him questions about, well, what have you been doing the last 8 weeks? How have you been preparing?
Right.
How have you been getting your body right and prepared for this big moment? He's already a big guy. He's listed at 6'7", 6'8", north of 350 pounds. Did he let his weight get away from him a little bit? Did he think that if he went out there right now, he's not going to test as well? So are those some of the things that kind of cross your mind when you hear that Evan Neal will not be performing? A guy who is a top 10 player in this class.
Yeah. And there's no taking that film grade away. So you're right. It's not going to have a dramatic effect. I start to wonder a little bit, like, are you just not prepared? Do you just not want to risk what you already have in that, in most people's boards, the top spot? But the teams are going to start to question it. Like you said, have you not been training effectively? Have you done something that you don't feel you're going to perform at your best because of your training regimen or whatever it is? How is it when you're in the interview room? Because as we understand, he's still going to be there and still talking to teams. That's going to come up. Now, if you have an effective answer for that and you're like, listen, I played with an injury that we never put out in the public. Shocking that might happen in Alabama where somebody played with an injury nobody knew about. Right. There are a number of things that you can say, hey, it just wasn't optimal for me. I want to give you my best. So I'm talking to you now. I'm going to run it to pro day. It's unusual, I think, for a player of that caliber who's had what is a fairly dominant season to be in that position. So I'm really intrigued to see what comes of it and why we find out he made the decision in the end.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really important to some of these scouts because, I talk to people all the time about players that maybe don't work out at the NFL level. And a lot of times it's not because of talent, right? I mean, these guys that are being taken in the top 10, they are all tremendous, elite, physically capable athletes and football players. The reasons why they don't pan out is because of some off the field things where there's work ethic, mindset, not used to challenging themselves, being the biggest player on the football field since they were 8 years old. And now all of a sudden, the playing field is a little bit more even, and how do they handle that? Do they prepare and go above and beyond whatever they've been doing and stop relying on just maybe pure athleticism or size? And those are questions that are going to be asked to a guy like Evan Neal, who, hey, if it is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who a lot of people, including us, have talked about potentially taking him or even one of these other tackles, they want to know that you're going to do everything to make sure that you're in the best shape possible to keep you on the field. And size isn't just going to win, especially, even in the AFC South. So I think that's probably the things that I would probably be worried about the most. And if he answers those questions right, then, there won't be an issue. But that's going to be their chance to really poke and see if they can get under the skin a little bit to figure out who exactly is Evan Neal.
Agreed. Because I got to tell you, not for nothing, the man has a 48-inch box jump at 360 pounds. You something's got to be wrong if you feel you're not athletically prepared for this contest, right? Like knowing that's in your bag. But I am a little bit concerned that maybe there's an undocumented injury or something like that. But yeah, I agree with you. This would be another way to separate in another case at another position and say, yeah, I really am number one. It's not a question anymore. And so maybe he feels he has a better chance of the pro day. I would have advised him to compete if it were me.
Man, 48-inch box jump. That's
right?
Pretty high.
Right? I can see it from
for
here.
A big guy. Yeah, 350 pounds or more, being able to do that freakish type stuff. And those are the type of prospects that Alabama gets, man. But we're going to get into much more of the combine. We got some guys on the ground there. We got John Harris coming on tomorrow. John, I believe John is at the combine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everything that he's hearing and seeing on the ground, covering the combine for not just us, but the Houston Texans as well. We'll be hearing about that and much more. Keep it locked right here. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at Eric_Crocker and also at Ryan Tracy NFL. But until next time, we are out of here, guys. See ya. Peace.